Is nuclear energy an existential threat to Bowen's renewable energy dream?
That's a good question. I think it probably is, but it's not a silver bullet in that sense. So, for example, Peter Dutton and his crew get in at the next election, and they have a mandate to repeal the ban. Well, that's basically one of the many pieces of the puzzle that needs to happen. I would argue that there's going to have to be a lot of government intervention to make nuclear happen. It's not going to happen on its own. And the big problem for that is that the policy interventions to date, with the rooftop solar in particular, is eroded the market share for baseload generators so much that no one really wants to build a baseload generator unless they can get a guaranteed contract, which is basically how the wind and solar get in the system as well. So it's going to be a very long and tough road, and they're going to have to bring out some courage to make it happen.
Now, we've seen the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, get up and lecture the West about free markets. Now, energy in Australia pretends to be a market system. Craig Kelly was at a Reckless Renewables rally in Canberra last week, and he had this to say. Have a listen.
I've been arguing the case against these wind turbines we were here 12 years ago. 12 years ago on that stage, almost identical rally against the wind turbines that were going up on farmland, right? The thing is, they're subsidised. That's the problem. And our electricity market doesn't price the intermittency properly. So you're getting these things that are built that are uneconomic, right? They're environmentally damaging, and the excuse we get is, they're going to help improve the weather and make better weather. Look, this is the most craziest nonsense you've ever heard.
Now, I've seen you write a great deal about the market regulation and subversion in the energy sector. Has the government ruined the energy market in Australia by intervening to fix it? And if so, how do we get ourselves out of this enormous mess before the lights go out?
Alexandra, that's probably one of the most important questions that should be raised. One of the problems is that people don't realise how bad it has become, which is what I alluded to at the top of this section. When we talk about the market, you've got to realise that it was a relatively free market with some government intervention in the early 2000s. Now it's become completely bastardized. You've got the RET generators, the renewable energy target, that's forced the existing round of, I call them the legacy wind and solar systems, into the grid. But pretty soon we're going to see another round of generators. I call them the CIS generators, the capacity investment scheme generators. So the bastardization continues, but what you're going to see, I believe, is the RET generators are going to see their lunch eaten by the capacity investment scheme generators. Now, the problem with all these schemes is that they're focused on an arbitrary target of a percentage. You've heard it, 82% renewables and 43% emissions reduction. None of that reflects any of the compromises that it puts into the market, the economics, and none of it acknowledges the technical aspects, the physics of the system. So now you have central planners given greater power, AMO by Mr. Finkel a few years ago, desperately running around trying to keep it working and patching it all together. So you'll see in places like South Australia where you have periods where you have too much rooftop solar, there's a central market operator based out of, where are they, Coffs Harbour or Port Macquarie or something, trying to shut off rooftop solar systems in Adelaide. I mean, it's just outrageous.
Don't get me started about the mid-north coast where I live, because we don't even have the proper power coming through to us at all. We have to have generators to run our farm equipment because the quality of the energy is not high enough, which is pretty bad. That's if it doesn't go out every time there's a thunderstorm, which also happens to go on.